You are watching the Doctalk show.
So welcome back from this break. The Doctalk show is continuing. I'm your host, Dr. Joseph Ogabu Jagenda, nephrologist working at Zambia Hospital, and I'm happy to host my team here of ENT specialists. Welcome again. So for so long, having hearing loss was a dead end in this country until about 15 years ago when we began doing some cochlear transplants. And that is synonymous with the name of Professor Thomas Roland. Professor, how did it all begin?
Well, it began when I came to visit my wife, who has been working in Uganda even longer, but her specialty is in adolescent health care.
So it was a love affair
in some ways. I was worried what she's doing every year in Uganda. No, she invited me to come, and when I came, she said, you might be able to be of some assistance. Why don't you call the ENT department? And so I did, and I said, I just do ears, I'm an otologist. And one of Chris's professors, Dr. Turk Twenka, who I talked to, said, you're most welcome. We need your help. We don't have proper equipment, and we need training. And so I came, and I worked very hard that whole first week. I didn't see my wife the entire week because they put me to work. And we were done. I said, well, this is fantastic, and they liked it. And I said, should we continue the collaboration? And now you roll the clock forward 15 years. It's been going on since then. We came up with the idea, we would see patients that were totally deaf, and we couldn't really provide cochlear implants at that time. We were more interested in teaching people how to test, what's involved in examining a patient with a hearing problem or an ear problem. We were interested in training them how to do the ear surgeries to take care of infected ears and draining ears and ear tumors and ear diseases. And each time we'd come, we'd pick off more and more difficult cases, and we would get the team up to speed. Chris was just a junior resident at the time, and I guess I did something that got his interest in the ear, because now he's just an ear doctor. That's what he does, and that's what he's getting extremely good at. And then the opportunity came. I got a call from a woman who worked at the tax authority that said she had a nephew who became deaf after getting treatment for tuberculosis. And at the time, we had had some fundraisers, and I had a couple of donations, cochlear implants. And I thought, maybe it's time to do this in this country. And we did it. We got some national attention. We were on TV that night, and the patient went from totally not hearing to hearing beautifully, and he's back gainfully employed and functioning again in society. And he's been wearing his implant now for 13 years continuously, and has done quite well. We did another gentleman a couple years later. It was a priest who had lost his hearing in a similar way. And also, it wasn't so much that we're going to suddenly jump from 0 to 60 and go right from doing nothing to doing cochlear implants, but cochlear implants got attention to the problem. It's very interesting. People, it's newsworthy. People give attention. The government got attention. The Minister of Health got attention directed toward the hearing health problem. And so now we feel we've reached a level where we can now provide cochlear implants on a regular basis. And with the help of Dr. Chris and Makary and Balago and my colleagues, Dr. McMenemy and others, and our relationship with TMR Hospital and Dr. Daniel, we feel we have really a top-notch, good quality cochlear implant program. You saw one of our young children who became deaf from meningitis and now wears 2 cochlear implants on a regular basis and is speaking and hearing and getting educated. In another year or 2, he'll be mainstreamed in regular school. And so I think we've come really a long way. What do you think, Chris? We made some progress?
Indeed. And the story of transforming lives. And not so long after came Professor Mark Manumi. Tell us, how do these transplants, the implants, how do they work?
Well, I think for the viewers out there, if you're wondering, are you a candidate for a cochlear implant, the first step is to get your hearing tested. We implant patients with hearing loss that really cannot be treated anymore with a hearing aid. And what we do with a cochlear implant is to put an electrode, a tiny electrode, inside the cochlea. We do this with a surgery that takes about an hour and a half. Very safe operation. We put this tiny electrode into the cochlea and we stimulate the cochlear nerve directly which is hooked up to the brain, and we then transmit sound from the cochlea into the brain and restore hearing. So there is an inside part, I think you'll talk more about this later, that's the implant, and there is an outside part also.
Thank you. So when you're totally unable to hear, it means that there's a problem connecting the sound that you should actually hear and the brain that receives that signal. And when you're not able to transmit it, what the implant does is to bypass the blockage so that you can actually be able to perceive. Your brain can be able to perceive, that you'll be able to speak and actually hear what others say. And Chris, implants are synonymous with very high centers and first world countries. Do we have these things in Uganda?
True. This happened 13 years ago.
13 years ago.
So
for
has
over
been-
13 years we've been giving people implants, restoring hearing.
That has made me laugh. This happened 13 years ago. So do not take our country as so...
So we can actually do it.
Yes,
right
so
here.
if this happened 13 years ago, you know where we were 13 years ago and where we are now. The difference is that the first implants that we did were donations. And that led to delayed program. The program delayed a bit because there's a little expense that you need to get the implant. So we moved from donations and want to start a program that is sustainable. There's no company in the world with its stocks on the market that is going to give you free things. So you need to move from that dependency to affordability and what is so special today, and I'm happy from the tax body that we received an announcement that these taxes on these hearing gadgets are going to be scrapped. So that is one step in fighting this silent burden. And I think this is going to help increase the number of implants we are having, because now each year we are implanting twice a year, which was not possible. So we are developing a big cohort. The implants are becoming less expensive because the government is involved. They cannot give you for free, but the government is trying to remove the barriers that are causing this. And true, these implants are done in Uganda. You don't have to refer people from here to wherever you want to do.
Any
And the
centers in
training
the
is
country
going on.
where we can get access and actually get
Malago
implants?
Makerere is one of them, where it started, TMR, and others.
Let me ask a question, Dr. Menemy. Some people only get one implant. That might be because they can only afford one implant, and some people might get two implants. What's the difference between having one ear and 2 ears? What can a human do with 2 ears that you can't do with 1 ear?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And we do have a number of patients that have a cochlear implant on one side and a hearing aid on the other side. The brain is amazing and can fuse that information. It's quite amazing. To have 2 ears is very important, as Dr. Rowland said, and I think what he's alluding to is the ability to localize sounds in space. If you only have 1 ear, you cannot tell where a sound is coming from. When you have 2, you can. Also, the ability to understand speech and music, especially in background noise, is enhanced with 2 ears as compared to 1.
So if I were to block one of your ears and I would be somewhere in our office and call your name, you wouldn't know which room I was in.
I'd have to go to every single room.
So life can indeed be transformed by having a cochlear implant. And the great news is, it's right here at home. You can get a cochlear implant done on you, and your life can be transformed. In fact, you can get your life back. So I thank the team that has joined us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor McManamy. Thank you, Chris Ndoyire. Thank you, Professor Roland Thomas.
My pleasure.
Thank you for the years that you've put in transforming the lives of those that have hearing problems. And we are glad that we are working with you. And the bright is very
The bright is future.
Jesus. The future is very bright. Looking ahead, we shall have our doctors trained locally and working on you and reaching you back at home. Remember to prevent hearing loss, immunize your child. Mothers, get tested for diseases that could cause blindness and deafness in your children. And should you suspect anything your child is not growing well, please get to see a doctor to assess, and don't get stigmatized. You can get out of hearing loss and get to live your life again. Thanks for enjoying the Doctalk show. The conversation continues on Twitter, and please subscribe on YouTube and like our Facebook page. We shall be following you. Thank you.